This is Amanda, and welcome to my very first book-to-movie comparison. Now, unlike my book reviews, this does contain spoilers, because I am taking the book version and the movie version of the same story and comparing them side by side. You can't really do this without talking about the contents. I'm just going to start off by saying, yes, the book is always better than the movie. All bookworms know this, all people who have seen a really bad adaptation of a movie know this. The book is always better than the movie because you get a better idea of the character, of their thought process, of their reactions, of their determinations, of just them. You get a better feel for them because that's what the author is there to do, to tell you how the character is, how the character sees life, and that is why we love books so much. Now, having said that, I think I actually prefer the movie version of North and South. And no, it's not because Richard Armitage is hot. I actually felt that there was much more emotional impact in the movie than there was in the book. Don't get me wrong, I loved the book. The book was amazing. It was a great story. And I felt that there was a lot of superfluous information. My guess is that it was written back in the time when writers were paid by the word, because it seems that sometimes Gaskell just kind of goes off on a ramble that doesn't really carry the story. Now, it doesn't happen a whole lot, like not enough to say, oh, don't even read it because it was just full of non-information. No, she had a habit of it, and it did irk me at some times, so it did take me a while to get through the book. Of course, I had already seen the movie at that point, and so I already knew what was going to happen, which plays a huge role in preference, because once you already know the storyline, you're probably going to be more impatient with whichever version you encounter next. I mean, if you read the book first, when you watch the movie, you know what's coming, you're anticipating what's coming, you're like, come on, do it already. Well, it's the same way when you're reading a book, and a book, for me, is slower to get through than a movie. The book North and South is a good 400 pages long, which, I'm not complaining about. I love big books. But for this kind of storyline, I'm constantly on edge, and with the exception of probably the first time that I read the story, once you hit a certain point, you're just like, fall in love already! One thing that I haven't liked about the movie since rewatching it, now I've only gotten to episode 2, so this could change in the last part, but Bessie Higgins doesn't talk about heaven or God, and this was kind of focal to her character in the book. It was her one comfort since she's dying, and this is what gets her through her days. So because the movie didn't have this, it felt like it was lacking. I didn't feel that it would have been that big of a push to get this into Bessie's character in the film, but this is me. Another reason that I really like the movie version is because it had more focus on the unions. In the book, it is definitely present and definitely affects the story, but in the movie, they actually have scenes of Nicholas Higgins calling union meetings and riling up the troops and telling everybody to go on strike. In the book, you don't see that as much, and one of the things that I really loved about this story was the depth that the Union and the strikers added to the story, that it wasn't just concentrated around Margaret Hale and John Thornton, and so for that reason, I really prefer the movie version. One more thing I want to talk to you about is the ending. Now, I don't know how many times I have watched a period romance, and you get to the ending, and they have finally fallen in love, they have finally accepted their feelings for each other. The end. Now, coming from the modern era, you kind of want to see a little display of public affection. So I find myself, every time I watch a period romance, like Pride and Prejudice or Sense and Sensibility, you just wait until the end, and you're urging the characters, come on, just a little one, just a little kiss, just a little peck. You can do it. And they never do. And so, when I saw the end of North and South, I was thrilled. Finally, a little display of public affection. And the more I watched it, the more they kept kissing, and the more I realized that it was a very public train station, and there were a lot of people there. And considering that she spent half of the story fretting over the fact that she was seen embracing a man no one knows she's related to, and she's worried about the perceived impropriety of this, the ending felt a little inconsistent to me. Now, I was relieved when I read the book and found out that the ending was not that public improprietous. Basically, it was normal to a period romance. And so at this point, I find myself siding with the book on the ending. But then you just remember the thrill of actually seeing a period romance ending the way that you wish it would for once in your lifetime, and you go back to the side of the movie. And so I have finally decided that it is the perfect medium. The movie ends with a scene that is a little inappropriate for the time, but totally satisfies all the fangirls out there who totally fell in love with it. And the book provides us with the proper prim ending that should be used for such a romance. When I got the idea to do a comparison video, I was all set to say that the movie was the best version, but I've been rewatching it, and I find that it does lack some of the stuff that I really enjoyed in the book, like the character thought processes and connecting with them. So I have to say that the book is definitely the best version, but when I get the hankering to relive this story, I'm probably going to turn to the BBC miniseries for the emotional impact that the story had on me. Plus, it only takes 4 hours, whereas it took me 4 weeks to read North and South. This probably isn't common for all bookworms, but I am a slow reader. It's tragic. So, once again to recap. Book is best. Movie is the preferred version. And for those of us who really want the best of both worlds, check out this clip and join me in the hopes that someday someone will see the light and have Richard Armitage narrate the entire book so we get the best of both worlds.